Okay, so welcome to class today. We're going to be discussing maternity and paternity leave. And first, what is it? Well, that's going to be explained in the presentation here. But one thing I really think would be interesting is to have the input from everyone here who's in class. Because I'm from the United States and it's one way. I live in Spain and it's another way. And I'm sure it's different in all of the countries. And so I'm just kind of curious to see if you know anything about it, if you've heard anything, if you have any experience with paternity leave, since I'm the only woman in this class today. So yeah, that's basically it. So what I want to do is just show you what I have. I need to screen share here for a second. That's not it. That's not it. That is not it. 1 second. Here it is. Okay. Maternity and paternity leave. Here we go. All right. So you see this now, right? Good. So basically, like I said, it's what is it? Well, it's pretty simple. Maternity leave is a time that a mother gets off after having a baby. And I want to talk about gets off. Or what other words might we be able to use? Does anyone, first, do you understand what this is?
Yes, I think.
All right. Okay. Well, good question, right? Let's talk. Could you please explain, excuse me, what gets off means?
To leave, in this case, temporary.
Okay, so it's kind of like holidays, right?
Paid holiday, yes.
Okay. Yes. And that's basically it. So maternity leave is when the mother takes off work that she isn't working. And so we use the word to get off. It kind of, she's allowed to take some time off after she has a baby. So with that, what I want is, Ken, as long as you were kind of talking, can you read this part for us?
Okay. How long in the US? It depends on the company. Today, we are going to be looking at maternity leave in middle to large companies. However, all companies have their own policy.
Yes. So, it depends if and later we have the requirements of what kind of a middle to large company is, or at least the minimum. And so basically this is something that it's different. It's different. Okay. It's not the same as when it's a family company based on when it's a huge corporation. And so, like I said, today I just want to focus on kind of in the middle. All right. Any questions so far about anything?
No from me.
Okay. All right. Well, moving on. Knock, do you want to speak today? Do you want to read or not?
Hey, I want to read.
Perfect. All right, let's read this, please.
Thank you. At middle to large companies, women can take up to 12 weeks off after the baby is born. Normally, the first 6 weeks are paid, but not 100% of your salary, and the other 6 weeks is unpaid.
Okay, good. So again, it kind of depends. But for example, my sister-in-law, when she had my niece, I don't remember when she had my nephew, but she, did this. She got the first 6 weeks paid, but it's not 100% of your salary. It's my mom said that it's about the same as it's basically disability is what they're paying you for, which sounds terrible because you're not disabled, you're just having a baby. So It's not 100%. I think it could be 50%, it could be 70%, it could be 40%, something like that. Again, it depends on the company. And then the other 6 weeks is absolutely unpaid. You can take the time off, but you don't get any money for it. Okay. Any questions here? But there any vocabulary words or anything like that? Nothing? Okay. Fantastic. Con, would you like to read today? I've muted you again because there's a lot of background noise. So if you want to read, you can try and unmute yourself. There are some laws about pregnancy in women, and so we're just going to look at some of these. All right. And this is what I really want to focus on for the moment. Okay. Well, Ken, let's have you read this part, okay?
Okay. The Pregnancy Discrimination Act. You cannot be fired. You are able to work as long as you can perform your tasks. You have the same rights as any other physically, mentally ill worker.
Does that make sense, that last part? You have the same rights as any other physically or mentally ill worker. We're not comparing you with them, but we're just saying.
Yeah, because we are all humans. We have all equal human rights, actually.
Yeah, so if someone has a physical disease or a mental disease, they have maybe special rights in which allows them to work less hours or maybe to work from home or things like that. They might have special things because they are disabled in some way. And so a woman who is pregnant also kind of has the same thing. They also have the guarantee that they cannot be fired because they're pregnant. And I have known of situations, at least here in Spain, that people have actually gone to court that, the woman was on maternity leave, the business basically fired her. And then when she went to go return to her job, she had realized that they had fired her. And so she went to court and she won. So, so that's, it happens.
It is happening, many countries in the world now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So any comments or questions about this?
No, from me.
Okay. Perfect. So that is about it for now.
Yeah. He has a question.
Perform a task means to complete your duties. Yes. Yeah, it does. It means anything that you have to do at work. If it's send emails or make copies or process things or develop ideas. If you're still able to do your duties, yes, like you said. Perfect. Con, do you have any questions or would you like to read? Okay, perfect. Do you want to read? Well, maybe we'll do. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I wanted to do either. Okay. Why don't you read this part up here and then you can continue down here, okay? Con, do you want to read? No? Okay. So can you read that last part, right? So Nock, do you want to read this part? That's cool.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, read this first little part and then where it says the little star asterisk. Okay, and I'll move it down for you.
Just the first two lines.
No, and below. And below.
From pregnancy brand.
Yes.
Okay. Pregnancy brand. People say that some pregnant women develop pregnancy brand. This is when a woman tends to forget things throughout the pregnancy. Uh, can you? I don't. Okay. About the pregnancy, they say it is due to constantly changing hormones, priorities, lack of sleep, etc.
Good. So again, this part up here was part of the requirements. You're still qualified for pay raises, promotions, because let's say if you were in a company for 6 months, after 6 months, you're qualified for a raise, for example, or a year and a half or something. So that time still counts, okay? And then pregnancy brain is basically, from what I said here, is you're able to work as long as you can perform your tasks. I have this little asterisk because I've heard about this multiple times from people that they say, oh, it's pregnancy brain. It basically means that you're more forgetful. Okay, you can't maybe remember things as well as you did before. And that's due to all of these things about, your hormones are changing, your priorities. You're going from, being a normal, I would say, a non-mother to a mother. You're more tired. Maybe you're not sleeping well. And so that's what they're talking about with this pregnancy brain. Okay. Hi, Rafa. Nice to see you. So any questions about this? Sorry, Rafa, you can say hi to me if you want.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. Good. All right. So we're talking about maternity leave and paternity leave here today. So just kind of in the middle of it. And this is all within the United States for now. Later, I'd like some input from others. Or if you have any input right now about anything, maybe anything that's completely different or exactly the same. No one? Okay. Fantastic. Well, then I'm going to move on down. And Rafa, I think it's going to be your turn. And actually, we'll move this down as well for you. So everything's a little bit together. Okay. So why don't you read these lines up here, and then I'll move down so we can finish to here. Okay? Actually, we'll do this.
The Family and Medical Leave Act. The FMLA applies to both men and women. Below are the requirements. If you have worked at the company for at least a year, you are entitled to take up to 12 weeks of unpaid maternity leave.
Okay. So, again, this is another one. Before we had the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, now we have the Family and Medical Leave Act. There are other things that affect deaths in the family as well that have to do with this, but obviously today we're just focusing on this part, okay, on the pregnancy part. So it should affect both men and women, and don't forget, this depends on every company. This could be something that they support or not support, which we'll see some of the other requirements. But, minimum, you have to work at the company for a year. If you don't, then you don't get these benefits. And that's because you haven't paid enough taxes, et cetera, something like that. It's all money. Of course, it's all money. Okay. Let's go down. Ken, I'll have you read. Oh, hold on. I knew this was going to I had this all set up very nice and pretty, and now it's not. So let's actually just put this all on the next page. It's still not. I'll have to move down here, but I can do that. So Ken, if you want, go ahead and read, please.
Okay. The Family and Medical Leave Act applies to companies that have at least 50 employees who live within 75 miles of the workplace. If you have been employed for at least a year by the company, work at least 25 hours a week, you can take up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave in any 12-month period for the birth of the baby.
So I have two things to comment on. This first one, and honestly, this is not a grammar mistake because the Family and Medical Leave Act is one subject. This wants me to change it to apply, which is not correct. So okay, just to make that clear. It's an act. Yeah.
Microsoft correction is
not always correct. Stop it, Microsoft. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, because it's one act, even though there's two parts, and I think that's what it's looking at, is there's the family and medical leave, not the noun act. So anyway, apart from that, so there have to, again, it depends on the company. Normally, if there's at least 50 people who work there, and I don't know why this is important, but it was in that it was in there. So I just decided to put it in here too. And that live within 75 miles of the workplace. I don't know why. It depends where they live. But anyway, this is part of the requirement. Now, also, it says if you've been employed for at least 1 year. So again, you have to be there for a year. Minimum work 25 hours per week. You're eligible. It's possible for you to take the 12 weeks off. Now, this last part, it says in any 12-month period for the birth of the baby. So that means first you can take the first, let's say 6 weeks off. And then every month you take 2 weeks off, for example. You can do that. So you're taking, you're off 6 weeks, work 2 weeks, off 2 weeks, work 2 weeks, off for 2 weeks, work 2 weeks, and off 2 weeks. That way you can do that. And that's, if you want to do that legally, you should be able to. The company might not like it, but legally they have to do that. Okay. Any questions about that?
Also, I think this act apply to men, right? Not only women. Because nowadays, men began to be able to take this kind of, I forgot, a maternity leave for growing up his baby.
For raising the baby, yeah. And here it is both for men and women. Now, I think a lot of men don't know this, and that's why they don't take it, or they are a little bit old-fashioned and just think that it's not what they should do, or I don't know. But a lot of men, in my opinion, don't do this. I mean, maybe they'll take a couple days or something, which I think is normal, like 2 or 3 days. But I mean, really, that's not enough. So,
yeah,
a little bit strange. Any other comments before we have Knock read?
Me?
Yeah, well, let's go down here. And yeah, I'm just going to move this down. So again, it's easier to read and it's on one page. All right, so we'll do this. Okay.
Okay. Again, each company policy is different, but you also have to look at state policies. Each state has its own regulations on maternity, paternity leave too.
So again, it's not only, the federal law about, these companies have to comply with the laws that they have, but each state also will have their own kind of regulations. So you have to look at everything. It's not just this is 100%. It's not like that. Okay. Questions, comments? Because I want to look at Spain a little bit just so we have one comparison. And then if you guys know of anything in your own countries, that would be fantastic. So Rafa, how about for now? I'll have you read this. It actually continues down there, so I'll move it, okay?
One question about this part.
Okay. Last part?
Means, if the state law and the kind of, I don't know, federal law or was different, what would happen? Which law is stronger?
In the end, I think the federal law, honestly, But, you know, the company can say, hey, let's go with the state law, or let's go with the federal law, for example. The company decides. I mean, really, if the company has less than 50 people, you haven't worked there for a year, you haven't worked your 25 hours, all of these obligations that they're saying that you have to comply, that you have this part. Okay, so at least a year, 25 hours per week. They don't have to offer you the 12 weeks, but they could.
Okay.
Maybe the state says you have to. Maybe if it's working, they have to at least work 20 hours a week, for example. So it's those little things that might change. I don't know what, I mean, in Wisconsin, I don't know what it is, but I think it's the first 6 weeks is paid less money, but you're still paid, which doesn't make sense. And then the other ones you're not paid.
I see.
So there might be just small differences as well, or they might say you can take less or more time, or you have to take all of the 12 weeks together. You can't separate them. I think little things like that. I don't think it's anything major.
Okay.
Good question. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. Perfect. Well, like I said, I'm going to go down here again, and I'll have Rafa read a little bit about Spain. It's a little different, not super different, but I know there are some countries in which are very, very different. So Rafa, could you read this? And like I said before, I'll move this down for you, okay?
Okay. Looking at maternity leave in Spain. In Spain, women can take up to 16 weeks off and receive full payment from work. Mothers who have twins can get up to 18 weeks off, and mothers of triples 20 weeks. She must take the first 6 weeks off, but then can take the other 10 plus weeks when she wants. The woman can even take a full year off if she wants.
Okay. So in Spain, obviously things are a little different. You get the full amount of pay. There's a lot of free things that you can get here. Samples and things. I think in the United States too, there's programs for that. But as you can see, so it's pretty different. I think in Spain in general, you're paid less as a whole, as a salary, but compared to the United States. I think that's all that I have. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Ken, could you read this? Because it looks like Con is still mute.
Okay. Father gets 15 paid weeks of paternity leave. He can take up to 3 unpaid years or more off depending on the health of the mother.
Okay. So, maybe the mother's sick. Maybe she had some problems or something. Then he would kind of be then responsible for her. And so I didn't find anything about really this part in the United States. I don't really know. I don't know if it would really apply or not. But I thought it was pretty interesting that he could take up to 3 years. And, you have job security. And that's the kind of cool thing about this, is that you are guaranteed to keep your job. They have to give you a job back if it's the same position or not, but they have to give you the same, a job back when you return. So, okay, questions or comments?
No.
Kind of a different topic today. Well, I just want to start out by saying, I know, like, for example, in Australia, and my mom thought in Canada too, women get 1 year off. And are they paid or not paid? I can't remember. I actually don't know if they're paid or not paid, but I know that women take 1 year off. And I know a girl I went to school with who was living in Australia. She said that, she was starting her maternity leave a couple days before the baby was born, and that she just had the next year off. So yeah. Pretty interesting. And what about you guys? I mean, we have many different countries and cultures here today. So what I want to do is just see what you know. And again, if it's paternity or maternity leave, that's fine. But I just want to look at some of the differences. And so I want to leave this kind of not necessarily that one. I think it was here. All right, just so that we can compare. So middle to large companies. So like I said, I know I've said this multiple times in the last 30 minutes, but middle to large companies is what we're focusing on today because, again, it could be different. You could have more rights or less rights depending on the company. Okay, so would anyone like to start? Any volunteers? Do you know anything about this topic?
In my country, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm checking Wikipedia.
So Ken doesn't know about Japan's maternity and paternity leave. That's fine.
It's here too.
I would assume so. I don't think moms go back to work the next day.
No, it's impossible. And I think the mother and father can take a day off until the baby became 1 and 6 months, 1 year and 6 months.
Oh wow! So 1.5 years.
Year and a half.
Wow.
But as a reality, some people have to leave the company because or even if they could return to the company, they cannot get the same position. I've heard of that.
Exactly, because literally, if you think about it from the business perspective, they have to find someone to do your job. And just because you come back, you're like, hey, I'm back, give me my job back. They don't have to guarantee you the same exact position, but just another job within the company.
Yeah, could happen.
So you said some people can't go back to the same job? I'm sorry, they can go back to the same company, just not their same exact job.
Yeah, okay. I think it could happen, yes.
All right. Do you know anything else? What about pay? Do they get paid? Is it unpaid?
I think it's paid, but I need to research on Wikipedia more.
Okay. You need some more time.
Yes.
All right, good. Well, anyone else? Well, Ken's looking up that information, and it's just to kind of compare because I've heard that the United States has the worst maternity and paternity leave ever. So I'm just curious about other countries too. And since we're all here together.
Here in my country, I believe it's 6 months for women.
Okay.
For maternity leave and 20 days for men.
All right. And do you think that's fair?
Yes, and normally they are paid because I believe that both men and women are unable to work since they are taking care of their children. So.
Well, men can easily take care of their children as well. They can't breastfeed, which is completely different. But as far as actually caring for them, changing diapers and stuff.
Exactly.
So I think, it depends because I know in the United States, some people are actually turning to that the woman's working and the men are staying home. And they're, stay-at-home dads, not stay-at-home moms anymore. And so the times are changing. And so it's kind of an interesting time to see this. Anyone else? Nock, do you know anything or are you researching as well? And let's just say, Rafa, you are in Brazil, okay? And Ken is in Japan. Nock, I am trying to think, are you in Vietnam?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know anything about Vietnam and the paternity, maternity leave?
I don't know much about the topic because I don't care much about this in my country.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. If you don't know, that's fine too. Ken, did you find out any more information?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I checked the website briefly, and actually, it's not paid. However,
Really? Okay.
the worker can get how can I say, some amount of money from their insurance. Kind of, I don't know. Workers usually belong to the kind of working ins-
Union?
unemployed insurance or something for
Okay.
them. So through
Like
that system,
unemployment.
yes, for so through that system they can get some amount of money, but are not full paid compared with the
Okay.
salaries, I think.
And okay. That's interesting. All right.
Mhm.
Well, good. As I've looked up some other facts about some different countries, and I know, at least I thought, some of the best maternity leave is here in Europe, as far as I understand. And one of those countries is Finland. All right. Finland, Norway, and Sweden to me have their heads on straight, basically. Like they're really logical about a lot of things. And it says that in Finland, 7 weeks before the estimated due date, the due date due date is when the mother is supposedly going to have the child. So 7 weeks before that, they get off. They start their maternity leave. Now, what happens is that the government will pay for 16 weeks after the baby is born as well. Um, to Okay, and then it says after a child offers 8 weeks of paid. Oh, and the country, and so Finland gives the father 8 weeks of paid paternity leave. So that's great. So both of them are home. And then it says when the kid or child turns 3, the parents can do a partial care leave, which is they, do some of the work at home, some of the work at work physically. And that lasts until the child is in second grade. Second grade in the United States is probably 7 to 8 years old. So, I mean, they really are pretty flexible. So that's great. In Denmark, all right, in Denmark now, they have 18 weeks of maternity leave. And that starts 4 weeks before the baby's born, and then obviously 14 weeks after. And the father can also take off 2 weeks during that 14-week period. 14 weeks. Okay, so there's other things too that they can get, so that's fine. Again, Sweden, so we're in the same region here in Europe. It says new parents in Sweden can take up to 480 days off, which is obviously over a year. What about it? Probably a year and a half. At 80% their normal pay. So that's pretty fantastic. You don't have to work for like a year and a half, and you still get 80% of what they're normally paid. The fathers also get 90 paid paternity days. So, 3 months. So that's it. Again, Belgium, they can take up to 15 weeks for they're paid 80% for the first 30 days, and then after that, they get 75% for the rest of the time that they're on maternity leave. So, pretty interesting. The moms can take up to 8 months of part-time leave, so it's between work and that. If we go outside of the area, Serbia, for example, so where's Bob when we need him? The moms can take 20 weeks of fully paid leave. So 20 weeks is a long time. After that, they can get a year of paid leave, but the money decreases. So the first 26 weeks is 100%. The next X amount of weeks is 60%. So it decreases as the time goes on. And there's some other countries too, but I think in general, it's pretty interesting to see the differences between the countries for just having a baby. So kind of a discussion is what do you think about these? Like I asked Rafa as well, do you think it's fair that men get less days than women?
I think so. Uh, because of course men have to take responsibility for the household chores, but well, I believe that who deserves more care is the women because she has to recover for the labor and everything.
Yeah, she's got to.
But of course, I believe that women deserve a more extensive time than men. But I believe it's fair that men have less time for these duties.
Okay.
But
Well, do you think if men had maybe not exactly the same, because yes, you're right. I do believe that women should have more time because they did have the baby. They went through the 9 months. But do you think it's that the fathers should maybe care for the babies after, or do you think the mothers should?
I believe that they have to share the responsibility and sharing their tasks. And it must be something that must be discussed by the couple.
Yeah, that's true. You know, who's going to stay home? It kind of depends on the jobs as well. I mean, maybe one of them has kind of a better paying job, but someone else has more insurance. And so, you know, if the insurance is better, then maybe that's a better option than the money. You know, so there's a lot of things to think about. You're definitely right about that. So good. Ken, do you have any other comments? I mean, do you think it's fair that men have less time?
I don't know. It's up to the case by case situation, but woman has more physical burden, because they have to birth. So, but men have to sometimes support their significant others. So, in Japanese law, I'm checking now, and it's kind of government promote the men urge to use this system more. So as a
Really?
national project, yeah, it's equally can be. I think men can equally get this benefit. Also, maybe encourage them to do that.
Well, do
Actually,
you think it's more encouraged because they didn't have the rights before?
not before. Maybe this project started maybe 10 years ago or something. Probably.
Yeah, exactly. So I think because people probably still think about the laws 10 years ago, they don't know that they have these rights. So of course it should be encouraged and say, hey, men can also take some time off.
Right.
How good. Knock, do you have anything to say?
Oh no, sorry.
Okay. That's
I know
okay.
this topic is strange to me actually.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Well, it's because you're young, right? I mean, you're definitely the youngest one here. So, perfect. Well, actually, what I was kind of thinking is maybe because I don't have any more information, what I might try and do is try and play hangman. Now, I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to think of a phrase and I'm going to write it down here. So, oops, I'm throwing everything on the ground. Okay, I'm trying to write everything down here. I can't speak too loudly. All right, so I'm gonna do this. Where is this? Oops. Oops. This is a lot harder than it looks. Okay. Whew. So this is hangman. We're not going to be able to do the part of the hangman part. I'm not drawing today, so that's fine. But what I want to do is just pick letters. So Ken, for example, I want you to tell me one letter.
Okay, A.
Okay. And what I'm going to do, and this. Oops. Well, okay. Next, knock a letter, please. All right, and the topic, sorry, the topic is related to today's topic, okay?
Okay.
So what letter are you thinking of?
And I have to get the letter.
Yep.
Letter N.
N, okay. One moment. Oops. Where am I? Why isn't this moving? Okay. Okay, that's it. Just one N.
Oh. Okay.
Hey, it's better than nothing. Okay, Rafa, how about a letter?
E.
E. And I have one more. It should be here. Okay. Ken?
Wow.
D.
Okay. Knock a letter, please.
I guess the letter T.
Nope, no T.
No T.
No T. Next.
Oh.
That's okay.
I.
No, you already guessed. You're done.
Okay, sorry.
You have to wait now. Rafa?
Letter C.
Letter C. Nope. Oops. Sorry, I didn't mean to put M there. Okay. That was just me typing incorrectly. All right, Ken. Things are getting difficult.
L.
L. Okay, 1 second. All right. Letter, please. Knock.
Okay.
I.
I.
Yes.
You had one that time. Very good. Things are getting more difficult now. Okay, so Rafa, letter please.
B.
B. Okay, next, Ken.
O.
Oh, I'm thinking some of you know this. Okay, next, knock.
Letter. Letter R.
R. Are you guys typing over there? I'm not even in. Okay, no. Yes. Yes, 1 second.
Yes.
2 R's on top of it. Okay, Rafa. You can solve the puzzle or you can just guess a letter.
V.
Yep.
V. Okay, Ken, do you know anything?
Y.
All right, and so what does this say? Labor and delivery. What does this mean? Labor and delivery.
Labor means worker, but I don't know. Delivery in this context, on this context.
Well, we're talking, it's related to today's topic of maternity and paternity leave.
Okay.
So labor and delivery, Rafa, you said the word labor before. So can you explain what this means maybe?
It is a the act of working, the act of doing activities.
Yeah, but related to today's class topic of maternity.
Okay, it's the act of giving birth to a child.
Exactly. The labor is the time before the mother gives birth, and obviously the delivery is the delivery of the child, and when the baby is actually born. So yay for vocabulary. Any questions about this?
No.
All right. Well, very good. Well, I think that's about it for today. Maybe a different day we can do more hangman and such. But for today, that is about it. So what I want to do is stop screen sharing for a second and tell you what we're going to be looking at. It's April 30th today. So on May 2nd, let me just double check that. Wednesday, May 2nd, we'll be continuing the conversation with about commas, because we had talked about this, I don't remember when, but we had talked about commas in the past. We hadn't finished the class, so we're going to do that. So we have that. Also, next Monday, I want to mention, should be pretty fun, at least for me, because I love grammar. We're going to be looking at some maybe incorrect sentences, or sentences that I'm going to ask you why it's like that, or you need to correct the sentence. So it's going to be relatively challenging, but I think it's going to be fun. So what I'm going to do basically is I have some examples already, but kind of, how do I explain this? Maybe just common mistakes, maybe false friends between languages. I don't know if that would happen much from Japanese to English, but maybe from Portuguese, for example. I know in Spanish there's a lot of words that are similar. So just to kind of take a look at some things. So it's called You're Going to Be the Investigator. You have to investigate and find kind of the difficult parts in those sentences, or I will directly ask you. Okay? So that's for the next couple times, next classes. Any questions?
So you mean maybe I can ask the question? Difficult structure of English or something?
Yeah, I'll have examples. Okay, so we'll focus on one example, and I'll say, okay, this sentence, why is this like this? Or I'll say, find the error, and maybe it's one mistake or two. Also, if you have any questions specifically about this, you saw something, well, why do you say that?
Right.
I don't know. Or maybe there is a reason. So yeah, we'll kind of, talk about English. I don't want to say in depth, but a little bit more in depth than normal.
Yeah.
So definitely kind of a different way of looking at it. I should do that class more often, because there's a lot of things in English that are kind of strange to non-native speakers. So that's about it. Any questions at this moment? No? Okay. Well, then we are officially done for today. Enjoy. Well, today it's sunny. for now, because yesterday it rained and was sunny, and rained and was sunny all day. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, well, enjoy your Mondays. Yes, it's Monday. And we'll hopefully see you on Wednesday, okay?
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, perfect. All right, have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
You're welcome. Bye.